Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? It is Tuesday night. You know what that means? It's Flyers Talk A2D, baby. Tonight, we're going to talk a couple things here. We got draft prospects. I mean, it's that time of year. You don't really have your team in the NHL playoffs like Brad does over here. You gotta figure out some things to talk about here. So, we're going to talk our top three prospects that the Flyers need to draft at number 12. We're also going to talk a little playoff update. We're just going to give you a little, rundown of what's happening in the second half here. So we got a lot to talk about. So we're going to hit that like. We're going to hit that subscribe. We're going to hit that share and retweet if you're on X. So let's go. It's time to talk some hockey. Let's do it.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to a brand new episode of Flyers Talk A2D. And today on the show, we are going to be discussing the draft, but we are also going to be giving a playoff update through what's been going on in the semifinals. We could talk about how whether our brackets were busted or not, and if any of us are using those second chances that the NHL likes to give out. And we're also going to be talking about who the Flyers might possibly be looking in on. So that's definitely something to look forward to. However, we are brought to you by, as always, if you have any type of ache and pain that's bothering you, that's making it hard for you to do your job or to enjoy your personal life, go to Specialized Physical Therapy, the Dr. Paul Vidal. Make an appointment at www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Then head on over either to Cherry Hill or to Burlington, New Jersey, and they will take care of you, and they'll make you feel pretty good right after that, and you will feel like new. No more aches and pains after that one. All right, and so the poll question today is defensive prospect Carter Yakimchuk is the ideal pick for the Flyers at number 12. Agree or disagree? And just to give you guys a little bit more clarity on that, I've got his stats up here on Elite Prospects. With the Calgary Hitmen this past season, he played in 66 games. He had 30 goals, 41 assists for 71 points, 120 penalty minutes, was a -6 for the season. So we'll see if that changes anybody's opinion here. Gentlemen, how about you? After hearing those stats, how do you feel? Do you agree or do you disagree with the Yakimchuk pick if it is made?
Well, before we all get into it, special shout out to Ralphie Dell for this info today. It's the 14th anniversary of Simone Gagne's game-winning goal against Boston in Game 7. Just want to throw that out there. Thanks, Ralphie.
Special
Ralphie
moment.
B.
Thank you, Ralph.
Real quick, I'll make it quick because I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in this a little bit later because he is on my list of the top three prospects as the Flyers should look at. Part of me disagrees with this. And the reason why I disagree with this is they need a scorer who, and I know Swoopy, I see you in the chat, brother. I know you're going to like this. They need a scorer who can skate. Not necessarily speed skate, but at least skate with some agility. So my number one guy is going to be the guy who I think is ideal, and we'll get into him a little bit later. Just give you guys a little bit of a tease because that's what I do. But I mean, I'm half and half on this because he is a very good young prospect. He does have a lot of things that he needs to work on, and some of them are big. And again, I'm gonna tease a little bit. We're going to get a little bit more of that too, a little more in depth on what he needs to work on. But the kid has a lot of things that an NHL defenseman should have. He's big body, big physical guy, 6'3". He's a right-handed defenseman. That's big. Not a ton of them. Flyers need more. I mean, I feel like the majority of their defensive core is left-handed. So another right-handed defenseman that can shoot the puck can really help out this offense. But I'm going to disagree. I think there's another player they need to try and target here in the draft.
Okay. Robbie, how do you feel about this one, brother?
Well, I'm gonna take the opposite stance here. Go figure. I'm gonna agree with this in terms of there's a different ways to go, and on my top three, who Danny B and company should be targeting definitely includes a sniper who shoots from all angles, forward depth, wing depth. But I think it all starts that if Carter Yamachuk slips down to 12, I think they got to pull the trigger, and he is the ideal pick at 12. He's just the ideal long-term replacement for Sean Walker, who was traded last deadline, and eventually Risto, who isn't part of the long-term plans here for the rebuild in Philadelphia. He carries similar size to Risto and strength with the scoring upside and then some of Sean Walker. Maddie, as you broke down, yes, minus on his plus minus, but I always like a defenseman from the Calgary Hitmen that put up 30 goals and 71 points, along with 120 penalty minutes, also means he hasn't taken any bullshit. So I like that type of player. I think he fits the mold in Philadelphia and be an ideal pick at 12.
All right. Brad, outside looking in, how do you feel about it? Should the Flyers take him, or do you disagree?
I disagree.
Okay.
Okay, the reason I disagree is because I think the Flyers need more skill up front. So I have my list of guys, and I just don't think that that's right now. They need to get some forwards. I think their defense right now is pretty good. I like where their defense is with the guys that they have right now, and a couple knocking on the door in the farm system. I think they should be trying to get themselves a really good center or a good left wing. That can score, obviously. That's what they need. Okay, they lost too many games where they gave up a lot of goals at the end of the season. I know that, but at the same time, they needed to put the puck in the net a little more, and I think that's something that has to be straightened out.
Fair.
Okay. So with that, we got Sturdy here. What's up, Sturdy? Saying it's hard to predict how this draft will play out. I get that because, like we've said before, we said it last week, it's not a deep draft, so you're not sure what you're getting. And to be fair, that doesn't mean that you're getting crap. That's not what we're saying, but we just don't know because there's a lot of, hopefully, there's a lot of finger crossing going on with the draft a little bit. He also says, I agree. We need offense, especially with Oliver Bonk, who looks like an elite defenseman.
I mean, you can never have too many defensive players in the pipeline, especially big physical guys. Doesn't take any crap, like Rob said. I mean, the high penalty minutes kind of concerns me a little bit. So which probably means he can be undisciplined at times. And as good as the Flyers PK was last year, when he's ready to go, we're have no idea where this penalty kill is going to be. So I'd rather have a guy that's a little bit more disciplined, but I do like the fact that he does play with grit and a little bit of snarl.
Right. And you guys make solid points too in terms of filling team needs that, yes, you do have some, offensive forwards, potential generational player in, Mitchkov coming, but that's neither here nor there whether it'll be right now or not. So you want to build depth there, and you're not wrong with that, but I just feel with Carter, right? Maybe you lose one Carter, you got to replace it with another. But what ideally is the point with him too is that I think you touched upon it, Brian. A right-handed shooting defenseman that was a valuable pickup with Jamie Drysdale. This is a nice insurance policy because let's face facts, Drysdale has had his problem with injury.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mike saying thoughts on Fedutov's suspension for 3 years. Political. Very political.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think he really cares.
I don't think so either. As long as he can play for the Flyers, I don't think he cares.
I don't think anybody cares. He can play in the NHL, and I think that's what he wants to do with his life right now is play in the NHL. So
yeah. So let's see. Draft Cole Iserman. That is who Mike is shooting for. So I guess he's going to be disagreeing with the poll. We do have American Loyalist who threw up $4.99 on his comment here. Thank you, American Loyalist. Saying, Frosting's trade, or is Frost's trade one of... I'm not sure what he means on the first part of that. But if the Flyers, I guess is what he's trying to say, trade one of their goalies, should Philly pull the trigger? I'm going to assume he means one of the prospects. Thoughts, gentlemen? Do you think the Flyers should try that? Or do you think that it's too early to really venture into that territory of talking about trading a goaltending prospect at this point?
I wouldn't do it at all. Leave them alone. Let them develop, and let's see who you got.
I see. This goes against everything that I've said, but I had a conversation at work the other day, and it really intrigued me with this. The only way I will pull the trigger if you bring Uzi Saros.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you got to replace that because you got depth, but you have it at all different ages, so you don't really have 2 or 3 at the same time. But if you pull in a proven starter in the league, that changes the script a little bit.
Okay.
It does.
So he does.
I see him at the trade deadline, and you guys all nixed that.
I know. I said I went against it to begin with.
I half nixed it. I half nixed it. I was not against the idea, but Swoopy is saying, so is Rod Brind'Amour going to be the Hurricanes coach next year? Is his job up in the air? If not for losing will his contract be an issue that prevents him from going back to the Hurricanes? I can't see them letting him go. I mean, it's an interesting question to ask because the Hurricanes have really struggled at first against the Rangers. I mean, they managed to snag a couple of wins to stay alive here. I still think the Rangers are going to win this series. I don't think that the reverse sweep is so hard to pull off. I mean, it's a miracle when the Flyers did it. Which again is also, thank you, Gagne, for that goal. That was, thank you very much. So then
the American Loyalist comes back and clarifies his comment.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. But with that being said, though, I'm going to say right now, you kind of wonder, is Brind'Amour in trouble? The Hurricanes struggling in that they haven't been able to get out of the third round, and they have a hard time now getting out of the second round. And you got to wonder, is it just bad luck on the Hurricanes' part? Or, I don't know. I feel like that a few questions have got to be asked, maybe some player changes.
There is a lack of skill up front.
It's true. We have questioned depth at times on the offensive side for the Hurricanes. They have been a more defensive-minded team in the past, which is funny because Freddie Anderson's their goalie. But so before we dive in, let's get to American Loyalist here throughout the 199. So thank you again, American Loyalist, saying, I meant if Boston trades one of the goalies. Well, Allmark has been debated on whether or not he's leaving. But they're not going to get rid of Swayman. He's not going anywhere. He's a young phenom. They're keeping him around. They'll probably run him into the ground like they did Rask. So
Rask got him a Stanley Cup. So
no, he did not.
Oh, you're right. It was Tim Thomas. Rask, I think, was the backup at that point.
He was. I mean, he got a ring. It just he didn't.
He got
him to a final. He got him to a final. I think he got him to 2 finals.
I think Rask was way better than Tim Thomas.
Thomas was good that year. He crushed it that year. That was what the thing was.
But overall, Rask was tremendous.
He was.
It wasn't his fault that team couldn't get over the hump with him.
So, question then, guys: would the Flyers go after Allmark?
If I have to choose one of those two, I'm trying to take Swayman.
Well, yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, but I mean, you would have to think Boston would keep Swayman and let Allmark leave.
Yeah.
I would say that they're going to keep Swayman for sure. Swayman is way better than Allmark.
Right, and he's young and everything, so it's
Yeah,
like,
Allmark,
yeah,
don't forget, Allmark was in Buffalo forever.
he was rotting in Buffalo,
Yeah,
actually.
and when they didn't have a great defense around him, he wasn't very good. I mean, last season, Boston had a great defense and he played incredibly well. So he's one of those goalies that he can drive the Cadillac, but he can't drive the Volkswagen, so to speak.
All right, so we're getting a lot of stuff on Yzerman here. I talked pretty heavy on him last week, even though I didn't say his name right, but is what it is. I'm not the best with names, so let's jump into this, Maddie. So
All right.
yeah, so like I said, a lot of people bringing up Yzerman. So let's jump into our top 3 here, boys.
All right, then. So who wants to start us off? Who wants to throw out their 3?
I'll start it.
All right, then.
All right. I've got Katon.
Okay.
1.
Berkeley Caton. Gotcha.
Yep, because he's a center, and he can score, and he can skate, and he's gritty, and I think he'd be a very good fit. Okay. Then I've got Yzerman, number 2.
Okay.
Don't forget
Cole
he's a left
Yzerman.
wing. I really want a center, but I mean a left wing who can score. I don't know if he's going to fall all the way down to 12. That's the only problem. I mean, he's not going to be. Look, he's not going to be number 1. We know that. I could see him going anywhere from 6 to 12.
I mean, if he is there, I mean,
If he's
it's a good
there,
idea.
it's probably a swing. But that would be the same thing with Caton too. If he's there, he'd be a slam dunk too. And Iginla, it would be my third choice, another center. So backing up what I'm saying, I think they need a center.
Okay.
Really bad.
Well, the good thing about Iginla is he can play winger too. He's playing majority wing.
I have Yzerman too, if he goes down that far. But I have him at 2. But I think right now there's more an urgent need to get a center.
Okay. All right.
You got to have a guy to play with Mitchkov, right?
Yeah, right.
Mitchkov is a wing, is he not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Way to
You
go.
do. Right. Yeah, I see where your head's at. You want to form that line.
That's why I don't have Yzerman first. I think that I really, really think a center would be a smarter pick. And if Peyton is there, I would take him because you know what? Especially if Mitchkov isn't going to be coming, you want him to get there, get some NHL experience, play the game, learn the game, so that when Mitchkov does come, he's NHL ready and waiting for action and just waiting to play with Mitchkov. I slam dunk to me, either him or Iginla in that case. But again, if Yzerman's there, he's too good to pass up. So that's why I would have Iginla as my third choice.
Right. Let's see here. Mike was saying his 3 was 1 Cole Yzerman, 2 Berkeley Caton, and 3 Iginla. So those were his 3. Rob, what you got for your 3, brother?
Right on. Well, stemming off the poll, I do have Yamachuk still at 1. You build up that depth, right-handed depth, as we highlighted too. But if you don't want to go that way, right? And I get it because losing Cutter Gauthier was a big loss that you replaced with a defenseman. So maybe you want to center on that forward, center on a guy that could potentially be that center iceman with pro experience. That's a big bonus for a team that's looking to take the next step, right? So I'm going to look a little different off your guys' board. I'm going to look towards the Finnish Elite League, Jokerit of League A, and that's Konsta Halinas. Losing, like I said, you losing Cuddy Gauthier. This is a similar type player that can, really replace that potentiality. He had an impressive season with League A with 36 points in 51 games. He's extremely driven. He's competitive from a lot of the film that I was looking at today. He gets down the dirty areas and just really shows a good high. The scouts say he's got that good IQ that you want to see for such a young player. He stood out in a lot of major tournaments, in their opinion. World Hockey Championship is next on his list. I think with his resume, he could be a part of the Flyers' future sooner than later. So that's who I got at number 2. I got Yzerman, aforementioned Yzerman, number 3 out of Boston U, because there's no better pure scorer in this NHL draft class. He set the U.S. national team's development program's all-time goal record with 127 goals. And he's only 17 years of age. He'll shoot from anywhere. He's just that pure sniper that could really just beat any goaltender. And he's got the really silky hands to do the toe drags and the fancy stuff. Now, it's great because that's what the Flyers need. They need that sniper, that dynamic shooter that, where you can really shoot in any situation. But the one knock on him is that he's seen as one-dimensional, kind of picture like an American Patrick Laine, right? Where he shoot first, not really much of a playmaking threat. But again, kid's 17. He could develop that. So I would not be disappointed with any 3 of those guys. But I will put Consta just ahead of Yzerman because of his more ability to play center ice that could develop. Right now he plays a lot more wing like Gauthier as well. So there's a lot of similarities there in terms of replacing that asset. But in the end, gentlemen, what sold this team down the river was when they traded Sean Walker, they felt that loss on the D-line. And I get that there's depth in this organization, but I think you have a potentiality to get, an elite talent at 12 outside of the top 10 with Yamachuk.
Get the timing, Maddie. It's like you've been doing this for almost 9 years.
Jeez, it's been that long.
Yeah, it's been that long.
God, I'm old.
I think he feels.
Yeah, Priz.
All right. So Robbie, given his top 3, and since I had to step out for a second, Robbie, could you please run that down real fast for me?
No problem. Carter Yamachuk 1, Consta Halinas 2 for out of the Finnish Elite League, and Cole Yzerman out of Boston U 3.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, brother. All right. So, do you want to go, Brian, or do you want me to go?
No, I'll go.
All right.
So I'm gonna do the opposite of what you guys are doing. I'm gonna go 3 to 1. So I'm gonna go from my lowest to my highest. My lowest, I know, right? So my lowest is gonna be Carter Yamachuk. I think the idea of a 6'3" right-handed defenseman that can score is an absolute dream for any Flyers fan. This is a guy that, he battles. He's really good at boxing out players, good physical guy, knows how to dangle around defensemen in the offensive zone, knows what to do with the puck, and you'll love it. But a couple of things that kind of worry me, this is kind of why I put him down at the bottom. He isn't the most agile skater. He has some solid top-end speed, which will actually help him on the rush, trying to defend the rush. And then, 6'3" gives you a little reach. So that kind of allows him to be a little bit better on the rush and poke check players and kind of disrupt any really form of play going on the back end. The thing that kind of worries me the most about this kid is his hockey IQ. He's got a really good IQ at the junior level, knows what to do with it. But his decision-making could be kind of questionable coming to the NHL. Could be something to worry about, and which is why, as the number 2 defenseman in the draft, he's dropping as far as he is. And it could just be something as simple as letting the other guys, like depending on where he gets drafted to, say he gets drafted to Philly and he winds up making the roster out of camp, allows him to be able to sit back a little bit, let his defensive pairing partner kind of take over so he can kind of learn a little bit. I think that's not necessarily a bad thing, even if he does it with, let's say, the Phantoms, if he does wind up getting drafted by Philly. So a little concern there. but got a ton of upside, especially with his offensive prowess. He's got a booming shot from the point, dynamic puck handler, and he's a very confident player when he does have the puck. And my number 2 is going to be Cole Eiserman, for a lot of the reasons that you guys said. But one of the things that I really like about him is his ability to be a blue-collar player in the offensive zone. He can shoot from tight spaces, knows how to toe drag around players, find open spaces. He does have a snarl and a little bit of grit on the forecheck, but he's not a good skater. And that's going to affect his transition game, whether he's on the offensive side or the defensive side. This defensive game is not good. Leaves a lot to be desired. So that's something he's going to have to develop when he gets to the NHL is his defensive game. He can't pass the puck. He's got that shoot first mentality, which is great, which means when he doesn't have the puck, he can find an open lane and take the shot, which is something that I think we can all agree on the Flyers need. But when he has the puck, he's not good with it. As far as passing, cycling with the puck. If he cycles in the offensive zone with the puck, he tends to turn it over. So as much good side as he has about as equal cons to go with it. So it was expected to be Macklin Celebrini and Cole Eiserman to be your number 1 and number 2 in this draft. And he's dropped off. Now they're expecting him to be taken somewhere between 9 and 12. So, and then we're starting to see why a little bit is his defensive game is just not good. It's definitely something he's going to have to work on as he gets develops into the NHL. And again, the offensive side to his game is unreal. It's unmatched. He like Rob said, he's the best pure scorer in this draft. And then my number 1, to nobody's real surprise, is going to be Tisha Ginla. He's my guy in the draft. If he falls to 12, take him. If he's still there at 9, trade up and get him. That's the guy. He's really going to make a difference on this team. He can play center. He can play wing. He's a natural goal scorer. He's got really good offensive positioning, smooth skater. Not the fastest skater, but he's also not the slowest, but he's really good on his edges, which allows him to create open space and create some offense with that. So he knows how to get open. He's got a quick, accurate shot, just like his dad. Soft hands. He's silky smooth with the puck, able to toe drag, stick handle, do all that good stuff. But like I said, he's not the fastest skater. He's pretty agile, though, so that kind of makes up for it. But his one flaw that I've seen so far, he's not very physical. That's my only problem with him. He's not a very physical player like his dad was. He's not as strong. He's not as physical, but I think everything else rules that out, and to me makes him the ideal pick for the Flyers because not only can he pass the puck, he can shoot the puck, he creates space, he creates offense. You want a guy that can play with Michkov, it's going to be Tisha Ginla. And if he doesn't wind up with Michkov, throw him on a line with Frost and Farabee, should they be here.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a dangerous line.
So for my 3, now I do believe Pove brought something up real quick. So you know what? Before I give my 3, Pove, why don't you show what we got here? I guess it's between Florida and Boston right now.
No, this right here is actually highlights of. I'm going to run down some of my top guys. Some of the guys we mentioned here, starting with Carter Yamanchuk being in the poll. If you haven't, if you're just tuning in, you haven't voted, vote on YouTube. Let's hear you in the comments, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Defensive prospect Carter Yamanchuk is the ideal pick for the Flyers at 12. So here's some highlights of them that we could play. And Maddie, feel free to, talk about your 3 while these play in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would say for my choices, one of the first ones that I definitely wanted to throw out there, I think at 3, I like the more that I was looking at Caden, I actually really dug his game. I think Caden could be very, very useful to the Flyers at this stage. So I think as a center, that definitely provides a lot of help for the Flyers because we have had, and it's definitely true, the Flyers have had some issues down center. So that definitely would be helpful. Losing Claude Giroux really hurt. So that definitely didn't help anything. And if he's as good as his offensive game is, if he can be a face-off machine too, it's like, wow, that is the perfect replacement right there to finally, all right, cool, we're good, we're good now. As for the next one, number 2, I put in Iginla. I thought Iginla as a skilled player, definitely he has all the tools to be as good, even possibly better than his dad. So that's definitely true. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember Iginla being known as the greatest skater in the world either. But the man could score, and that's what kept him going. And he was tough as nails too, on top of it. So I think that was one of the big selling parts about Iginla, was that maybe not the greatest skater in the world, but man, he could find the back of the net and he could throw when he needed to. And he was a big dude, so he could handle it. And then on top of that as well, number 1 for me is Cole Yzerman. I really love Cole's offensive game. Like, as a goal scorer, it's like, that's one thing that the Flyers really struggled with down the stretch, was finding that goal, was finding that finish. And that was actually even when they were getting goals from a lot of guys. There was still that missing finish, especially on the power play. Oh, my God, that was awful watching the power play all year. So it's like, man, if Yzerman's as good as it seems, he might be perfect to finish, to fix a lot of those issues of good. We could find a finish, and he will put the puck in the back of the net. Good. We need that. We really need that right now. So those are my 3 for this year's draft. Although I will say I might be slightly biased to Ty Iginla, only because I would love to have an Iginla finally be on a Flyers jersey. That might have something to do with it, because I always wanted an Iginla.
I would not be opposed to that idea. He's not on my list, but I have no reason not to. Maybe he won't. He doesn't fall to 12. That might be a possibility there.
Right, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah, this is Cole Yzerman, by the way, who you were talking about as your pick, Maddie.
Right,
and
USA. Right, and his skill is amazing with the way he handles the puck and whatnot, and it's just something that definitely needs to be looked at for the Flyers, because getting a pure goal scorer will do us wonders. It really will.
Why you gotta be like that, YouTube? Why you gotta be like that, YouTube? Come on.
I know, right? Just put on
YouTube.
No, but for real, like I agree with what everybody has said about his offensive game. If he really wants to be like a truly successful player in the NHL, he has to learn to play defense. It's being described as a liability. And I realize, like, a lot of times when you have that high offensive skill, there's going to be a lack somewhere. But this is a kid that if he really, like I said, if he wants to be a star in the NHL, he's got to learn to play the defensive side of the puck.
Paul Coffey didn't play defense at all.
He was a defenseman.
He attempted to be one.
Right.
Lot of years to fit that role, though. That's why I like him on the list.
Flamingo Coffey was one of the greatest offensive defensemen in history.
Right. Dude. If it wasn't for Bobby Orr, he'd probably be the greatest.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, I would say, the other thing too, and this doesn't mean that you shouldn't, try to train that up in him. The other thing too is you can balance the line, and you can make sure that you have a solid pair to sit back there knowing this, and being prepared for it. I'm still not saying I'm not saying let him get away with it. I'm not saying don't train him, don't try to coach him on it. But if you know that that's something he's a little bit weaker on, like I said, you could balance it out. You could figure out, okay, that means we got to have this pair out when he's out because they're going to play strong defense so he can play strong offense. This pair here is going to be able to get back in time so it's not a mistake. At the end of the day, if his skill is as good as it is, you kind of try to see if you can work around it. If it's that good that you can't pass up. If it isn't, then you really do have to make a call there. But if it's that good, you kind of figure out, okay, he doesn't play defense that well. Let's get him let's work with this here. Let's figure out how to mask that problem, how to fix that problem without having to deviate him from his game.
And obviously you don't have to deviate him from his game. You obviously don't want to take away from that. But
yeah.
Which I believe he's already committed to Boston for next year. I think I saw that. So if anybody can confirm that for me, definitely please throw that in the chat.
Right.
I believe he is. I think he is committed to Boston. I think it's Boston University next year. Develop him. Don't bring him to the NHL right away. Let him develop. He's got to develop a defensive game because, like I said, if he wants to find success, he's got to figure it out. He can't be a liability.
He is going to Boston. So he is going to head there.
Okay. So that's going to at least give him a little bit of a chance to develop at that level because a lot of players, they use the college level now as a developmental league. They don't go back to junior, mainly because they probably don't want to go back to juniors.
Right.
So they use college as an opportunity to be able to continue to develop. So let him do that.
Right. He's 17 too. So it's like, okay, he's a young kid. You know, he's playing the game he likes to play. He's getting flashy and everything like that. College is a good way for him to kind of mature a little bit and learn, like, hey, this is how you really need to play the game in order for you to make that transition. So, yeah. But, okay. Outliers, too. I did see a couple of other guys. I don't think they were mentioned here. McKenzie did bring them up. Beckett Sinecki and Trevor Connolly were two names he threw out there, just to throw them out there as well and give them some fair press because they were brought up as well. For those who may not be sure, Beckett Sinecki played with Oshawa, 63 games, 27 goals, 41 assists, 68 points, 67 penalty minutes, plus 33. And he had 16 playoff games, 10 goals, 12 assists, 22 total points, and 21 penalty minutes. And then Trevor Connolly played with the Tri-City Storm last year, 52 games, 31 goals, 47 assists, 78 points, and 88 penalty minutes, and was a +1. And he also played for the USA Under-18 team and got 4 goals and 5 assists in that tournament. So just to give full coverage to the two guys who were not discussed that McKenzie brought up, that the Flyers could possibly grab at 12. So now that we've given our top 3, Mike saying, talking about Denver Barkey getting the playoff experience while developing is good, especially in the lower tier hockey league, and is a plus. Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Foreman, too.
Mm-hmm.
Kid's playing well. Him and Bonk both are killing it for London right now in their little playoff run there.
Yes, sir.
And
I heard Bonk is a special defensive player, by the way. Defense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're comparing his defensive game to Couturier. So that's what if you remember when Couturier first came up, you know, they put him out as a rookie. He was going out there against Crosby. So that'll tell you something.
He's a 3-time Selke nominee. I think he won it once. So he's a very good 200-foot player when he's 100% healthy and he's playing well.
Yeah, that's the comparisons I've heard about him.
he does, yeah, and that's a good thing to be compared to. Mike saying, wear my London Knights Barkey jersey, by the way.
Word. It's a good one. I like them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe I got sucked in on Yamachuk because of the Calgary Hitmen jersey. That's one of the finer jerseys in the WHL. Let me tell you what.
That's true. That's true. And Heel Crow saying, hey, fellas, I agree to the poll. Greg saying, "What's up, boys? I disagree to the poll. He might be the pick, but let's go BPA at 12."
Yeah. One of these guys fall down, Igilna, certainly, stock dropped on Yzerman. He could have, he might be gone by 12. So, allowing one of these other gentlemen to slip down to 12. So, you never know how it's going to go until draft day.
That's true.
Exactly.
Captain Obvious statement of the show.
We'll make that the quote. So
39, 59, 40 minutes. There you go.
The guy's noted. Is Saros a free agent or is he
He's still under contract.
I thought so.
I think he's still under contract for like another year or two.
Okay, I thought it was. I wasn't sure if it was this year or next year that he's a free agent. So this could be his walk year. So this might be the year that they decide, especially when they have a really good young prospect as their backup. This might be the year they let it go.
So much better than Saros. Yeah, he's got one more year on his contract, so next year is his last year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So,
So, Greg saying, sadly, not up to this draft class like I have been in past years. It's okay. It's not the greatest year. I mean, there have been some rough draft classes in the past. I mean, one of the more infamous ones was 1999. That one was a real rough year for a lot of teams. However, though, unless you're Vancouver, because you got both the Sedin twins that year. So, except for them, it was a bit of a rough shot in that year's draft. Flyers.
I do want to jump to this comment here, Maddie, from PY.
Okay, go ahead.
He wants to know how we feel as far as confidence goes. I'm assuming he's talking about Fedotov and how he feels about maybe investing in somebody else in the draft.
Well, see, here's the thing. Like, we've talked about how the fact that the Flyers have other prospects. So it's not exactly like the Flyers have to go out and grab a goalie in an emergency and desperately need to build up a pipeline of goaltenders because we have them. In terms of confidence, it's too early to really predict anything on Fedotov. I mean, it's like you bring him in and it was such a small sample size. And yeah, it didn't look great on him, but at the same time, the team did not play well during that time either. That was during the really bad streak for the Flyers at the end of the year. So it's like, that's the worst time to bring in a young goalie. Like, hey, come on in, kid. Let's play goal. You're going to start tonight. And by the way, the team's playing like crap. Have fun.
One thing I'll say, Petey, real quick, is that I don't think they go goalie in this draft. They already got their depth, no matter what level, the guys that follow Arison are in, Fedotov, Koleslav, right? But don't ignore Carson Bjarnason that was drafted in the second round, I believe, number 51 overall. He's only 18 years old. When you get a goalie in the second round, that you're sacrificing draft capital that I don't think you want to be lost again in the following year's draft unless there's just that clear-cut must-have guy, like to your point from last week, Maddie.
Thank you.
Did I break up there at all? Because my computer started acting really funny.
I don't think so. I heard you just fine.
I stammer on my own, but that one was not my fault. That was the computer.
Yeah, and then on top of it, to kind of build off of what you were saying there, Robbie, there's another young Russian goaltender in the pipeline as well.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Actually, here, let me do this.
I know we loaned him back, right? We loaned him back to the KHL. To keep up those. It's with Scott or SKA that Mitchkov's playing for, keeping up those good foreign relations, but he's still in the pipeline. You're right.
Yep, Jaeger Zabragin. That's the goaltender's name. There's a lot of hype behind this kid as well. So
right.
To sit here and say that, and I see this a lot about the Flyers maybe not having an elite goaltender right now. There's a lot of developing goaltenders that could wind up being elite at this point. There's a lot of hype behind this kid, who I like to call Z, because his name I always seem to forget his name. So I just call him Z. It's easier. Koleslav is going to be another one who seems to always, he's got a lot of hype behind him as well. Then Bjarnson, Urson could take a huge step forward next year. I mean, I don't think Urson's going to be a bad goaltender, so don't take this wrong. I just don't think he's going to be a legit starter. I think he's going to be a really strong tandem guy, which is what we saw earlier this year before Carter Hart and his situation decided to go all kinds of baloney all over the place. So, I don't think they have to invest in another guy in the draft. I mean, maybe, depending on what the price is, you go after Soros and get a legit starter in there. But the thing I also got to remember too is they just invested $6 million in Fedotov over the next 2 years.
Right.
So unless he's going back the other way to be a backup for Oskarov in Nashville, I don't see it happening.
I'll be honest. I think, what the Flyers could do is if you're not feeling confident in the game of Fedotov, if you really don't feel comfortable having Urson be the lone starter for the season next year, and you're not sure about your other goaltenders because they're still developing, and obviously we know what Peterson and Sandstrom is, so it's not exactly like there's much choice in that.
Yeah. Trash.
Yeah. So when you get down to it, what you then do is you get a goalie on the cheap. You don't spend a lot of money. You go and grab a goalie that has been in the league for a little while, and you tandem him with Urson. If that's what you got to do, then that's what you do. That's the solution to the problem temporarily, until you really feel like you've got that goalie that's finally turning into something. And that's if you're not feeling confident in Fedotov's game. That's only if you're not feeling confident in it, that him and Urson aren't working.
Then you sample size, Maddie. Small
sample size, and that's why I would say that. That's the thing. Yeah,
but,
and you're right. I'm not saying that, but it is definitely something to be said that the team also is playing like crap too, so
true.
It didn't help the situation either.
Very true. So the one major plus right now for Fedotov is he's going to get a full training camp with this team. Right. He's going to be able to go into the summer skates. He's going to be able to train a full off season for the NHL. So I'm not expecting to see what I saw last year in his 3 games. And to be honest, it left a lot to be desired. But again, full off season, he's going to be able to train with this team, get it under his belt, go into training camp, make the adjustments that he needs to make, and just hope for the best. Just hope he rebounds and turns into that goaltender that he was in Russia in the KHL.
Mike, I don't know if Peterson would net you Shilovs. I don't think Vancouver's that stupid.
Not with what he's playing right now.
No. Like, Vancouver would have to have literally fallen on their face and have suffered some type of concussion and brain damage to want to go with that trade.
No, they're pretty smart, actually.
I mean, Vancouver wins tonight. They got a chokehold on the series against one of the best offensive power plays in the game.
In no small part because of Shilovs.
Yep.
And
definitely no thanks to Casey DeSmith. Definitely none there. I give him his pink slip at the end of the playoffs. Hey, listen, it's been great.
Peace.
But here you go.
Hey, DeSmith gets to reenact what happened with him in Pittsburgh, phased out very quickly.
Like they tell me at most bars I go to, you don't have to go home, but you got to get out of here. You know what I mean?
Right. I think Montreal, when they initially traded for him, they're like, "Oh shit, we got to get rid of this guy immediately."
Yeah. Luckily, they found someone.
Suckers.
Well, you know what it is? He'll give you one spectacular game out of like 5. And that's what sucks teams in.
Mm-hmm.
That it can do it.
That's what I seem to remember him doing in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, okay, so let's do a playoff update. Unless there's anything else we wanted to add on to the prospect talk that we were having.
Boston won, by the way.
All right. I'll tell you right now, man. If I was Florida, I'd be tugging at the collar a little bit, be getting a little hot in there because this was kind of your shot to put the Bruins down. Like, this is a bad thing to let the Bruins come back.
Well, when Sam Bennett's not cheap shotting people, you see what happens.
Yeah, that does it all right. But to be fair,
they won without Marchand tonight.
Right. To
What
be
does that
fair,
tell you?
right. To be fair, though, he did it to Marchand, and it's like, okay. And I loved how people got people were getting up in arms, like, guys, come on, listen. I'm not saying you should cheap shot the guy, but it's Marchand. He's a cheap shot king. What do you expect is going to happen? He's good. If you can't take it, don't dish it out. It's as simple as that.
It's one thing if you like cheap shot a guy and he gets right back up and it's all well and good and they go after each other. That I don't. When you cheap shot a guy and he misses games, it's going to cause a little bit of it's going to ruffle some feathers.
That definitely will.
And it was a legit punch too. Like, it wasn't like it was. He legit punched him right square in the side of his head, and there was some force behind it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of
a tough guy.
Kind of reminds you of a certain Bertuzzi fellow who did something really uncalled for in a game with Colorado. yeah.
Yeah, but you can blame the rest of the players for dogpiling on Stephen Moore and broke his neck, unfortunately.
Yeah, sadly.
Smack.
So,
get him, Don. I see you down there.
Yeah, and he's saying it best. The Bruins won't die, goddammit. Yep. And if
I just
Florida
want to get their cup.
I'm just gonna say right now, if Boston beats Florida, oh my God. Brad, listen, I still think your Rangers are gonna win, but if Boston gets through Florida after coming back from 3-1, damn, that's gonna be hard. That is gonna be real hard. I'm just saying.
Florida's gonna be either way. They're both. I'm extremely worried about what's going on.
I 1,000% disagree with Matt right now. And what Boston will have to exhaust in order coming back down after, you took game 1, but then losing 3 in a row to come back and have to win in 7, I think that gives advantage to Rangers.
Not if the Rangers have to go 7.
Well, true.
I mean,
they got to wrap up that series. What are they doing? Stop playing around with their game. Put them to bed. What are you doing?
That's true. Rangers are kind of playing with their food, aren't they?
Let's just sit back and let the Canes do whatever they want. Don't take any penalties or anything. Don't check them too hard. Just let's stand around and make sure Igor gets the shutout.
Hey guys, can I ask you a question? Did I get dropped on my head recently? Because I swear I'm seeing Calvin Pickard in a playoff game with Edmonton right now.
No, you're seeing that right.
What in the actual fuck am I looking at?
Stuart Skinner's just been playing like trash.
I mean, I get that, but Pickard? I mean, don't get me wrong. He wasn't the worst in a Flyers jersey, but by God, good Lord.
Stuart Skinner, Freddie Anderson 2.0. Just loses in the playoffs.
This is false, by the way. Colorado's going to get ousted tomorrow night.
If Colorado comes back on the no way.
There's no way
don't
they're
tell
coming
me.
back on Dallas. Dallas has been way too good.
Dallas defensively is this is the best defensive team in the NHL right now.
I mean, do you think
the offense is relentless?
You think
They
Dallas
could score too. I forgot about that. Yeah. They could score. They could score as well, but defensively, they're just really hard to score against.
I know
a team like Colorado, the way they have, is mind-boggling.
I know I picked Boston to win the cup, sadly, but if Dallas keeps this up, they might actually be the ones. They might be adding a trophy to their case to this year. Oh, that's funny.
I don't really care.
For those who are new to HUD, we used to actually have a show which was all female, which they were good for the most part. Well, 2 out of 3 were really good for the most part. We had a show called HUD After Dark, and it is exactly how it sounds. It was unhinged and out of control, and I feel bad for Tommy for having to have to deal with said person.
Hey, man, sometimes it's entertaining radio. Shit.
Fucking A, bro.
By the way, if we're not trying to disparage, if you are a lady and you do like sports talk, please, you are more than welcome. By the way,
No, absolutely. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah, no,
I know.
At all.
I had to throw it out there. I knew it. You guys are setting it up. I had to do it.
Two of them very good. One of them doing very well in Buffalo, by the way. So yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, I mean, with this whole Colorado Dallas series, I'm really like this offense has just been absolutely like Wyatt Johnson, have yourself a series as a rookie.
Yeah, right.
Show that ice in your veins. Like this, me and Priz were talking about this last night. This kid is unreal. First of all, if he can find his way to Southern California, that'd be amazing. Gets in good position, really strong on the power play, strong on the puck, knows when to shoot. Great offensive IQ. And then you're getting Jamie Benn in on the action, and Tyler Seguin showing signs of his former self. This team is really deep at center. And like Brad was saying, one of the better defensive teams, one of the better penalty killing teams. And Priz, I hope you didn't pass out yet, because I'm going to do exactly what you said you wanted me to do last night. Tanev was one of the best trades of the trade deadline for Dallas. He's just been unreal. First of all, so disciplined, so smart on the puck, knows when to do what he needs to do with it. Just one of the best penalty killers, physical, protects Jake Ottinger, knows how to support him. Like this is, oh my God. Like the Dallas Stars, if they don't win the cup, they have no excuse.
Yeah.
They're getting anything and everything from everybody on that roster. They've been unreal this entire ride. And you know what? Like I said, if they fall short of a Stanley Cup, they have no excuse.
Losing Nicole, how do you pronounce his name? Nicolotion or something like that?
Nicoletian?
Oh, Nikushkin?
Yeah, Nick Houston.
Oh.
That's going to hurt. Guy's got 9 goals in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, yeah, that hurts too. And he's gone for about 6 months.
Yeah,
I would say yes to that, Mike. I think Ottinger has earned that right to be called that.
Mm-hmm. He's a franchise guy.
We already got rough stuff between Vancouver and Edmonton. Let's see here. Saying Pab's age finally caught. Yeah, well, it was going to happen eventually, but I hope that Dallas can win the cup because I do want to see him get it. It is so not fair that he didn't get one.
Yeah.
Period.
But his age has caught up to him, Prez. But you know what, man? His leadership, his experience in these situations, invaluable, my friend. You already know that.
So, to give a quick update on the series, in case anyone out there hasn't been paying attention, and if you haven't been, why are you watching Flyers Talk? But please still watch. You would think that, they would keep up on the NHL playoffs at least a little bit. But no.
Maybe they come to us for the updates.
Well, I mean, that's true. And that's why we're here. So, Vancouver and Edmonton, 2-1 series lead for the Canucks. Shilovs has just been a monster in that series. And it's been killing the hopes and prayers of Edmonton fans. Also, McDavid got checked right in the neck by Soucy, who got in more than chin. It looked like the neck from the angle,
right in the chin.
But still, either way, I believe Soucy did get suspended for that.
I will say that I will say this in defense of Soucy on this one. I don't think it was justified because Zadorov came in and cross-checked him in the back before that.
Right.
That caused Connor McDavid to kind of drop a little bit because otherwise, I don't think that stick is hitting him in the mouth.
Right, like that. It's not like he couldn't see it. He could clearly see it happen. So it's right in front of him. And then besides that, we have Colorado and Dallas. Colorado is in more than a little bit of trouble. Dallas is up 3-1 in that series. And they lost both games at home. So Colorado's in a lot of trouble heading back to Dallas. And then for Boston, they survived tonight, so we will have a Game 6 back in Boston. Florida might have just missed their best opportunity to put Boston away. And as for the final series, we have the Rangers. Well, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. Brad, you go ahead. You talk on that one.
I'm pretty nervous about what's going on with the Rangers right now. I do not like the fact that they had their chance in Game 4 to put that team away, and they didn't do it. And then yesterday, they have a 1-0 lead to start the third period. They kill a damn power play, okay? And after that, you're saying when you're a Ranger fan, you're really feeling good because you're like, okay, we took a stupid penalty at the end of the second period. We kill that power play. It's still 1-0. We got this. And then all of a sudden, they just start standing around and watching. And Igor is making save after save, but Igor couldn't stop everything. And they finally got to him. And then they put 4 goals in the net. So you can't. I'm very concerned because that was as bad as it gets. But I did predict at the beginning of this series the Rangers would beat them in 6. Okay, and I think that they can win in Raleigh. They've already done it in this series. They did it during the season. I see no reason why they can't do it again. But you know what? They're going to have to actually go out there and try to score and not score 1 goal and try to hang on to it, because that's not going to work.
Right.
The Rangers are not a good enough defensive team that they could score 1 goal and sit back and just stop everybody. They're just not.
Right. So that game's going to be interesting. That is Thursday where we will have that game. So I'm sure Brad's, if you have any fingernails left, you won't by the end of Thursday, especially if the Rangers don't win.
It would be so typical of this team. I mean, our history is that we would lose 4 straight. That would be just so typical of this franchise with their history. We always find a way not to advance in the playoffs and to lose playoff games when they matter most. They better not let it get to Game 7. I know it's at the Garden, but they better not let it get to that point. Jump on them tomorrow night, and jump on them early, and make sure that you get ahead of them, and make sure when you get power plays that you score. If we're not going to score 5-on-5, damn it, score 5-on-4. I mean, I know we could score 4-on-5. That we've had no problem doing that. So, I mean, they've had how many shorthanded goals have they had in this series against Carolina now? 2, 3. It's crazy. They have more shorthanded goals than Carolina has power play goals. I think they're 1 for 17, Carolina, on the power play, and the Rangers have scored. No, they scored 2. They scored 2 shorthanded goals. So, in 34 minutes of power play time, the Rangers have outscored them 2-1. But yet 5-on-5, I don't get it.
So we're going to close out this one. And Tom says it best. I'll agree to the poll even though I don't know him. We thank everybody for joining us for this edition of Flyers Talk A2D. Next week, we will be back, of course, with plenty more to talk about the playoffs. By the conference finals will officially be up and running by next week. So we will see who the final 4 teams are and who will be battling for their conference title. Until then, specialized physical therapy. If you got any aches and pains, from all of us here, we wish you all to stay safe, stay healthy out there, continue to enjoy the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we'll see you next week, everybody.